Hi, my name's Matt Woods. I'm the owner of a 2019 CRF450L, and today's video I'm going to talk about why I purchased the bike, why I enjoy the bike, and why I would consider buying another bike, namely the KTM 500 EXC, and let you know kind of some of the things that I've done to the bike, maybe give you a rough estimate as to how much money I have in this bike. And if you're listening, do not forward this video to my wife. She does not want to know this kind of information. Okay, let's talk about the number one reason that I bought the bike. The number one reason is for comfort. I'm 53 years old. I'm not racing motocross. As a matter of fact, I'm not doing any racing whatsoever with this bike. This bike is just to have some fun with the fellas. Do a lot of riding up in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. That's primarily where we go riding, although we've been to several other places. Michigan, Upper Peninsula is typically where we go. If you know anything about that area, you know that there are some long trails. There's a lot of snowmobiling in the winter, and we're using those same snowmobile trails. There's single track up there, there's two track up there, there's nice wide open fire roads, and these trails go for miles and miles and miles. And this is a bike that's particularly well suited for that type of terrain, for that type of riding. Now, I do have two buddies with 500 EXCFs and the KTM, and I also have a buddy with the DRZ 400 SM. That is, he swapped out the tires for dirt bike riding, so it's the SM setup. The Supermoto front forks, and I don't know if it's a different rear shock. I would assume it is. But I haven't done much research on it, but I have ridden the DRZ 400 SM set up for dirt with dirt bike tires. And I have ridden both of the 500 EXCFs, and I did enjoy both of those bikes tremendously, of course, because of the power. But as far as comfort is concerned, this one is my choice, and yes, I want to win those races down the straightaways, and I do lose them every time to the KTMs. However, after putting 500 miles on one of the 500 EXCFs, it's more for perhaps a younger body. I would love to have one every time I'm up there racing and enjoying the camaraderie and the competition between my friends. However, this one, when I'm heading down that highway, when I'm on that stretch of road that is boring, I really enjoy the Honda CRF over the KTM 500. So that is the number one reason I purchased this bike. And if I had to make the decision again, this would be a tough one for one reason. The throttle control on this Honda is terribly, terribly annoying. It's enough to tick me off every time we take a trip up to Michigan to make me want to sell my Honda when I come back home. That's how upsetting it is to get this bike for the price that it is. And you just have no throttle control on single track. You know all the videos. The videos are on YouTube. It is terribly annoying. It is terribly annoying. The other thing too that contributes to this is sometimes I have difficulty with my hands. For example, if there's constant clutch control and throttle that I'm trying to do through these tight single tracks, my hands will often they'll often start getting cramped up a little bit, and I'll start to feel some pain. If that's a problem that you have, I'll tell you what, that KTM throttle it's smooth. It is super smooth. I mean, why couldn't Honda get that done? Maybe it's emissions, maybe I don't know what it is, but it's very apparent when you ride each bike back to back. It's very apparent, very disappointing. And by the way, I do have the Vortex ECU in this. Certainly it's way better, but it is still it's still upsetting. When I finish a trip riding this bike, it is still upsetting. So keep that in mind if you're looking for one of these. If you're doing some tight single track, Okay, there are a couple other bikes that you might want to consider. All right, let's talk about the number 2 reason that I bought the Honda over the KTM, specifically the KTM. Those were really the only 2 bikes I was considering. At the time, Beta was putting out some stuff and I was thinking about Beta. But the second reason that I bought the Honda was because of parts availability, dealership availability. Let's just say I'm somewhere and they distribute all sorts of parts. What's the likelihood they're going to have something for the CRF or something that's going to fit or that I can retrofit onto this bike? It's highly likely. So that's a big reason for going for this. I really wanted to try the Beta. But when I got to think about the reasons that I didn't want the KTM, because I thought the dealerships were further apart and fewer, and of course they are. When I started thinking about that reason for not buying the KTM, that also posed a bigger problem for the Beta. And I think that's where Honda kind of helped convince me that maybe this is the better bike to go with. So parts availability, that is the number 2 reason to go with the CRF450L. These may not make a difference to you. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you go, maybe you ride dirt trails behind your house or something like that. If it breaks down, you call someone, they grab you. But if you're out in the middle of Timbuktu, the chance of having a KTM dealership versus a Honda dealership, it's more likely that you're going to have a Honda dealership. And maybe that's changing. As the years go by, KTM is getting more and more of this market share, and that's fantastic. Maybe someday I'll own a KTM, and maybe I'll own both the KTM and the Honda together. I'm not sure. But that's the second reason. So the first reason was comfort, particularly the vibiness of the KTM. I didn't like it in the Super Duke. I didn't like it in the 500EX CF. However, considering the fact that we were riding mainly off-road, I was still putting KTM in the game. Second thing that pulled me off the KTM, of course, the parts and the dealership, all the availability for that. Number 3 is the subframe. If you don't know it, I'm sure you do if you're researching these bikes. The Honda has a subframe. It's a stiff subframe, and it's up under here, up under this fender, and it gives you some stability for racks. My buddies have the KTMs. They don't carry a lot of stuff. They don't mind. I end up kind of being the pack mule a little bit for maybe some redundant equipment, and with that I'm fine. I mean, I follow these guys all day long and I see their fenders going up and down. I understand that there's not a lot of room for extra pieces and parts and stuff to carry. So that's the third. Number 3 is the subframe, and those are the strongest 3 arguments in my mind that won out for the Honda, and that's why I purchased the Honda CRF450L. So what I'm going to talk about next is, I talked a little bit about the 500EX CF. I'm going to talk a little bit about the DRZ400. And the DRZ400 I really don't have much experience on. I have a buddy that bought a brand new Super Moto, and he swapped out the Super Moto tires and stuff so we can ride off-road. And he's got knobbies on his, but he wanted the Super Moto front forks, and he wanted it done for his weight. So he got it all set up, and I tell you, if you want a bike that's comfortable and you don't mind getting off of the fuel injection, that DRZ400 is a beautiful, comfortable bike. It is extremely comfortable, extremely forgiving. It's got performance, it's got some power, but of course it doesn't have what the 450L has, it doesn't have what the 500EX CF has. So it's lacking a little bit in those areas, but if I was simply choosing comfort, it's a winner. I mean, I probably would have gone with that bike if I didn't want to pop wheelies, and if I didn't want to kind of race some of these guys, I probably would have gone with the 400. I love my buddy's setup, the Supermoto setup with the dirt tires, with knobbies in particular. And that's a fantastic setup, super comfortable. I loved riding his bike. As a matter of fact, when I got onto my bike after riding his bike, for some of those long stretches down the highway, and also for some of the kind of easy, flowy two tracks, I would have preferred to be on the 400 rather than the 450L. And of course, you know, you get to racing and carrying on or racing through the trails. You want to be on that super light 500 EXCF. So all of those three big players, I think, have their where they shine, those points where they shine, and of course the places where they don't particularly meet the needs of certain riders. And for me, someone of my age or someone for my desired type of riding that is a little bit more comfortable, but you know, I still like to pull the front wheel up and have some fun with the guys. So in addition to my headlight from BajaDesigns, incidentally, there's nothing on this bike that's been purchased by anyone but me. I purchased everything for my bike. That's what I chose based on the research that I did at the time. So some of these items are, you know, 2-3 years old, and perhaps there are some better options out there now. However, you know, dual sporting's been going on for quite some time. It didn't just happen in 2019 when Honda came out with a dual sport. So there were a fair amount of available options for lighting and baggage and all sorts of stuff like this. So what I use right now is called the Cyclops. And this Cyclops light, I don't know what it is. It's like 5,000 lumens. This one up here in the front is like 5,000 lumens. These are powerful lights. They take a little bit of battery, and this Cyclops light fits on one of these GoPro mounts. And you put the GoPro mount on top of your helmet, and the Cyclops lights go up here, and then you pull the wire down your back and kind of connect it, feed it through whatever you have to. It'll run off battery. It'll also run off of your your battery for the bike as well, or it has an auxiliary battery or detachable battery that you carry with you. I personally do not prefer this light. It's not a ding on Cyclops by any means. This is the second Cyclops light I've purchased. The first one I purchased were the helmet lights that sit down here by your chin. They go around your chin bar. I love them. I don't know why Cyclops did away with them. This one right here, after one ride, probably, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 miles, this one has been ripped off my helmet multiple times. The lens is all scratched up from the branches and whatever else is scraping you as you're rolling down the trails at night. I do not like the light above my head. I see every bit of dust a little bit better than I see it when the lights are down here. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know if it's just me. However, this light up here is not as big a win as this light up here. Why did I go with separate auxiliary lights if I have this light up here? It's because I want to look around, right? If I want to look around at something, I want a nice spotlight and some floodlight around that. Incidentally, this has both. It has lenses for both spot and flood. And it's fantastic. You have it on top of your helmet, you're looking around, you're looking in the field, you want to look down trails and see where they go. You want a light like this hooked to your helmet. So I think helmet lights are fantastic. Another thing about this, again, my buddy has the Tusk lights that mount on the helmet as well. And the Tusk lights are great. And they're a little bit cheaper maybe than the Cyclops light. They're fantastic lights. I have noticed a difference in the color of the lights. The Cyclops seems to be a little more yellow, and the Tusk is a little whiter, a little closer to that blue spectrum. So if you like a whiter, bluer spectrum, you might want to go with the Tusk. If you like something a little more yellow, a little warmer, then go with the Cyclops. I personally like the warmer light. I want the warmer light. I don't like that super white light that kind of bleaches everything in its path. I like these. I like the warmer color. That has nothing to do with how far they go, but it may seem like that when you've got the lights on. So just a little something about lights, front light, headlight, and the auxiliary lights that I use. I've got some Mosko Moto Reckless 10s on here. And if you don't mind traveling with something kind of next to your leg, these are fantastic bags. These bags right here, the reason I bought them is because they come with dry bags. And these dry bags, of course, keep your stuff dry. But beyond that, at some point these dry bags aren't going to be any good. But that's fine. You can purchase just the dry bag itself from Mosko Moto. You fold the top down so that it's waterproof. You slide it back into your Rekluse. These are solid, nice, thick canvas material. This part is not the waterproof part. You don't need that. You need this for the roughness, toughness, for extra add-ons if you want to carry gas or whatever. But the dry bag is what you need to keep your stuff dry. It's got a little window for you. I think there's a fantastic, they keep the weight a little bit lower, and they're replaceable. When the dry bag eventually gets worn out, they're replaceable, just that inner bag. I've got right here, this is the Rig Gear. I can't remember what the company is. Whatever, it's Rig Gear. I like this bag. I like the tail bag that's on here. I don't have this right on the fender. I actually have a rack on here. This is called the Skaggs rack, S-C-A-G-G-S. It's a really good looking rack. I paid a little extra for it. I love the look of it. And of course I covered it immediately with the tail bag. Don't ask me why I bought a beautiful rack to cover it. However, it's a really nice rack and it integrates well into the fender. I like it. I'll show it when I have this stuff off here. In a future video. The setback with the Riggs bag is it's not waterproof. So it has a little waterproof something, water repellent something that goes over top. This is an expandable bag as well. You can see that you can unzip this, of course, to open it and unzip it to expand. So that's how that works. I like it. I carry bottles of water back here, so I don't need it to be waterproof. And the nice thing about carrying bottles of water is when I empty them, I can leave them with just air in the bottles and they take up space in my bag so that my stuff doesn't shift around too much. You know, as you use your stuff, there's nothing in your bag and then your whatever's left in there just kind of hops around a little bit. So I do keep my bottles and my plastic bottles, and I just keep them strapped down in there. So that's the tail bag, the tail rack, the Rekluse 10s for the Mosko Motos, and I have something right here called steg pegs. You'll see the sticker, it's falling off right now, but steg pegs allow us older guys to be in a little more comfort when we're standing. So this kind of just sticks to my boot just a little bit and gives me a little resistance. So as I'm riding down the trail and the wind is hitting my body and my helmet, this gives me a little resistance on my boot so that it's not as much work to kind of stand up and enjoy the ride. So I can stand up a little bit longer and rest my boot up against here. I have some protectors on the frame here. These are for the CRF450R, I believe. And if you do a little bit of research, you'll find out how to fit those up. You have to cut them a little bit. You have to make them fit the bike. But I think they're good to have on there if you want to protect your frame. If you don't, no big deal. You can clean it up and shine it up later if you get scratched up. Up here on the bars, I've got a couple of leftovers. I've got some Rox risers, and these are the Rox Anti-Vibe Risers. And the reason I put these on here is just to kind of stop the vibration through the handlebars. It makes a little bit of a difference. It also makes a difference when I hit something really hard. Now I've got the front suspension working for me. Now I've got some give in the handlebars so I don't jam my wrist, and my wrist is hurting the rest of the day and I have to wait till the next day till it feels much stronger to really ride fast. So this right here is, in my book, excuse me, it's an easy plus. I think I paid $160 for these. I've had these things for a decade, and I love them. There's a little rubber piece that goes inside here. I know there are some newer solutions on the market. I've looked at them. Do I want to spend $500 on something up here? I might in the future. For right now, this is fine with me. I have a large tablet. This is the Samsung Samsung Active3 Tab, something like that. And I love it. It's fantastic. Fits up here, has a case. This is by Ram Mount. The Ram Mount case is made specifically for this tablet. And I'll do a little review on that a little bit later. But I use this setup. This setup right here is for a smaller phone. And I did use this with my Kyocera. I have a Kyocera phone, waterproof, dustproof, vibration proof. Very, very important that it's vibration proof. Otherwise your camera will stop working and potentially some other items. But I use this, and if you've ever ridden up in Michigan, you'll know when you hit those, a half-a-mile stretch of sand whoops, anything that you can hold on. I mean, you can barely hold on to your bike. It's amazing that this will stay in its holder through a half-a-mile of sand whoops. Very good case. This one too, as well. I've had this through the whoops, and just it's amazing how much these. First of all, that the tablet, the Kyocera phone, the RAM holders, it's amazing how much they can take. Now, one note on this. First of all, you'll see this RAM mount is the claw. I can't get it tight enough to keep from slipping around the handlebars. It just wants to slide around the handlebars. I tightened this to the point where the claw actually cracked. Ram sent me another one. Thank you very much, Ram. It's a fantastic product. It's very convenient. I really like the claw. It just has, it's not for the type of riding I do. It's too rough. If I had a road bike, this would be fantastic. This phone case too is fantastic. Now I have had my phones, what I did in the past is I mounted this upside down because I liked to get on my bike, push down and let it go up. It was very convenient. I liked it, and I'm like, boy, why didn't Ram think of this? I think they did. And I think they found out quickly that if you hit a bump hard enough and that bike slams down, it actually extends this spring. And my phone, I watched it about 2 feet ahead of my handlebars as it was ejected from the phone holder. From that point forward, I knew exactly why Ram makes you push up on the phone or up on this holder in order to get your device into the phone holder. So do it right, put it in there the way Ram tells you to, otherwise you can lose your phone on a trail. I had a tough phone on it. It popped out on the street and I had to go back and pick it up. The phone was fine. However, that's the way it's set up, and it's set up for a good reason. Back to this mount. Fantastic mount. I've got a very short arm on here. This is the 2-inch arm, the Ram. And the reason I did the 2 inches because I knew I had a very large, heavy tablet sitting here. And after 4 days of riding, finally the mount started to slip and come loose. I tightened it all the way to where it stops, and I could not tighten this arm tight enough. So I've seen a couple of people deal with this, maybe put a little extra rubber or something in there, or scratch the surface of the ball up so that it holds again. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this in the future. I've been looking at the Adventure Spec mini fairing for the CRF450L and abandoning the Ram mount arm altogether and simply hooking the amps connection. The amps pattern connection is this 4-bolt pattern on the back, and that bolts directly to the Adventure Spec mini fairing. So that might be the next thing. Not really sure. The verdict's still out on that. I've got the Adventure mirrors. I like the Adventure mirrors. I like comfort. I like to be able to see. I don't want just kind of a small picture of what's going on behind me. I could go either way on these. I like how big the mirror is. At the same time, it's the first thing that gets smacked as soon as we get into the trees. And of course, you're thinking twice. why didn't I just go with the small mirrors as opposed to these? I think I would have the same problem, but it's kind of a pick your poison. If you want something a little bit larger, these are fantastic. If you want something a little bit smaller, maybe has less of a chance of getting hit by branches, you're probably going to want to go with the small round ones. I forget what these mirrors are called. Whatever they are, you guys can see what they are. You probably looked at reviews for that as well. Going around the front here, these are the Cyclops Probends. You can see right here I got a little damage. My bike dropped off the backside of my my hitch mounted bike carrier, and I dragged my bike for a couple of yards until I can pull over on the side of the road, and that's why that's scratched up. But it's fantastic. Saved my bars, saved my levers. Sure, I can replace this. I can replace this if I want to, and I will at some point, but I haven't done that so far. I've got radiator protectors up here. You need radiator protectors. I went down very, very light. I was holding the bike as I went down. It was just too far. It wasn't even a high-speed wreck. However, I did bend slightly one of my radiators. Of course, I immediately went home and I purchased some radiator guards. You just need them. You need radiator guards. The tank, the IMS tank. The guys that I ride with don't have large tanks. They don't, I mean, we probably do, I don't know, 70 to 100 miles a day when we're hanging out riding together, and this is more than enough. I just wanted, one of us ran out of gas at one point on one of our rides, so it's nice to have a little extra gas. Someone's going to run out before I do, so that's what I bought the big tank for. The other thing that I've done for the bike is the seat. You need the comfort seat. The comfort seat, of course, this is the XL. Bought the XL because I wanted as large as I can get. I mean, it doesn't look bad at all. And it's fantastic. You sit back on the seat, hit the straightaways, it's great. You stand up, you sit down, stand up, sit down, whatever. It's a fantastic seat. It's probably one of the first things I would do if you want that comfort. If you're fine with the stock seat, you know, who cares? Why blow the money, right? I replaced my grips. I did some lock-on grips. These are fine. I like them. They're nice and rubbery. I didn't have to do them, but I was replacing the bar anyway. And I've got a Evo. It's a black bar. Woods High is the bend that I'm using. That's a Protaper bar. Is it much different from the stock? I mean, it's a fat bar, so it's a little bit different, but I'm not sure that I can tell that much of a difference. I just had it, and I wanted it, and I wanted to use it with my Rox risers. I've got my small bag here, my Mosko Moto. This is called the Pico 1 liter. I'll do a separate review on this, but the Pico 1 liter, I like the size, I like where it's located, I like the fact that it can hold a couple of things. Just to give you an idea for the size, of course I have my phone recording, but this is a small phone. I don't know what the Kyocera is, but it's not as large as my regular phone that I'm recording with. This phone fits in here fine. The one that I'm recording with is a little bit larger screen. It doesn't quite fit in the 1 liter bag. So if you're on the edge about should I get the 1 liter, or I believe the next one up is a 5 liter, I mean, you might consider the 5 liter, or look for someone else who's making maybe a 1.5 liters or maybe a 2 liter. You know, the first Mosko Moto Pico that I got had a hole. I could see it as soon as I took it out of the box, and of course they sent me a new one right away. Thank you, Mosko Moto. I enjoy the product. I think that I think the big design flaw with the Pico, I like my stuff with the Mosko Moto, but the Pico in particular, The seam is up here on top. And to me, you know, if I would have really been paying attention when I purchased it, the seam should really be on the other side, or this should be some sort of one piece that goes over the zipper. I'm just highly suspect of this around here. I've had some moisture inside. I can't tell if it's because of the humidity level. I can't tell if maybe some wind pushed some moisture up beyond the zipper, over the slip and into the bag. I can't really tell. What I can say is it's not, I've been in rain and it doesn't let the rain in. This bag, of course, lets the rain in. It's absolutely soaked. I have to dry it out. This one doesn't get like that, but it will get some humidity. Like I said, I don't really know what the deal is, but just something to consider. I love the size. I love how it connects. I can snap these off for easy fill up when I get to the gas station. I can also, I can take the whole bag off if I want to, if I've got valuables in here, but usually I just, it unclips here as well. Usually I just have something that I can pull out, throw in my pocket, head in the store. I'm not worried about securing so much of my stuff on my bike. I grab my tablet, my wallet, my phone, and then I lock my bike and I'm on my way. So lots of stuff done to the bike, and it's a fantastic bike. I will write up some reviews on some other little gadgets and maybe some of the stuff that I wear, maybe a helmet and lights and stuff like that, but I'll do that in another video. One thing that I've noticed as of late, I'm having a problem right here with the run and the stop switch on the Honda. I suspected that I had a problem before, and now I know that there's a problem in this switch. I don't know what's going on in here. I haven't opened it up, but there is a problem. I'll have this on run and it simply won't even try to start. It won't even try. The starter won't kick in, I don't hear anything, and I'll turn this off and on and off and on again, and then finally it'll kick on. So I've got a problem. Maybe it's with the start piece, maybe it's with the on-off piece. Not really sure what that is, but that is seemingly a failure point on my particular bike. I'm not sure that I've heard any other complaints. Okay, a couple of other things I've done with the bike. I put some seal savers up here. I don't really know if they work, but we do ride in a lot of sandy trails, and I figured any protection I can do for the front seals would be a plus. They do get worn down after a while, but they're working hard every time that we go out on the bike, so I think they're keeping a lot of gunk out of my fork seals. Tires. I have knobbies on the front and the back. And the backs, I think I went with some Motoz. They're non-DOT. We really don't ride on the we really don't ride much on the road. And these are fantastic tires. I've got another tire that I've used. And this is the Shinko. This is the Enduro, and I bought, the size that I bought for these is 140/80/18, and these will fit the 450L. This bike right here, this tire right here has probably, I want to say 1,000 miles on it, probably 85 to 90% of that is dirt. You can see it's got a nice little lug on it. The reason I switched out tires is because I took the tire mousses. This is the Nitro Mousse. I took the mousses out of my bike and I put in the Tubliss system. And I've had the Tubliss system on motorcycles before. It's a great system. It's not foolproof. It's not this is not foolproof. There's not a foolproof system out there, but I did try the mousses for about, I want to say about 1,000 miles. So this mousse right here has about 1,000 miles on it, and you can see it hasn't really lost much of its shape. Like I said, I've probably done maybe, I don't know, 100, 150 miles, maybe more on the pavement with this. So you can see it hasn't broken down. They're fantastic. What I don't like about the mousse is when you hit something hard, this mousse, it only has so much give, and then it just feels like you are right there in contact with the rock or the road or whatever it is. There's a certain point at which it stops giving, and it's very pronounced. You can feel it right up through the bars, through your wrists, through your arms. So if you do go with the tire mousse, be prepared for that. I can talk about it a little bit more if you want. And again, no flat tires, hundreds of miles, probably close to 1,000 miles on that mousse. And it was fantastic. Didn't even have to worry. Didn't have to worry about hitting the edge of any sharp rocks. You don't have to worry about, if you're out in the desert riding, you don't have to worry about cactus. You don't have to worry about any of that with the mousse. If I was in a more flat, susceptible riding area, I would go back with the mousse. It's a pain. It's a pain to get these tires back on the rim after you get the mousse in there. But once you do it, I mean, you just don't have to worry until you can feel the rear or the front sliding a little too much for your comfort. And that probably means it's time to swap out the mousse. If you haven't changed the tires on your 450L or any dual sport and you do a lot of off-road riding, you are in for a treat when you switch to a knobby, because it really, really makes a big difference. I've ridden with the street, semi-street, whatever they are, 50/50s. I don't know what it comes with. Whatever Honda puts on the bike. It was okay, but you're slipping and sliding all over the place. I rode the 500 EXC with its tires that come from KTM. It was okay. Then we decided to pull them off and then go out for a ride after we switched them, and wow, what a difference. So you do yourself a treat. If you're riding off-road, don't be scared of the knobbies. Just take it easy on the road, on the pavement, especially when you're going around corners. You can get a set of Supermoto tires for these, and you can have fun in the twisties and on the pavement. But when you're off-road, you don't really want a tire that's not knobby or fairly aggressive. I have Shinko in the front, and I haven't changed these tires at all. I probably have about 2,000 miles on them. And you can see they've got a fair amount of knob. The tires in the back I changed only because I went with the Tubliss system. You can see these have a lot of tread on them. They probably only got about 400 or 500 miles on them. Maybe 15% of that is pavement. The other is all dirt. So of course they're gonna last a good while. What else can I talk about on the CRF? Let me know in the comments if you have a specific item that I've talked about that you want me to expand on. This was just kind of an intro and a walk around what I've done with the Honda 450L. I hope you enjoyed the video. Would I purchase this bike again? I would. I like it a lot. Do I hate this throttle? Yeah, I hate the throttle. I mean, the Vortex is a fantastic upgrade for some power and for some control on the flame outs when this thing flames out. And it's just frustrating. I mean, if KTM can get bikes into the country and they don't flame out nearly as much as the Honda does, I mean, Honda has to do, I don't know. I don't know if they can or if their hands are tied and there's nothing they can do, just make the best of it. I think you've got to fix the throttle on this thing, number one, if you get it and you're doing single track. If you're not doing single track, I would not spend $1,000 for a Vortex, or $800. I think they're $800. That's a lot of money. I don't want to spend $800 on a Vortex. So if you don't use on the tight stuff, don't worry about this. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna use the throttle, you're gonna use the clutch, and you'll be fine without it. A couple of things that I have to have. I have to have a decent seat. That to me is a must. The tank, if you're going any distances, that was a must. We don't want to be stuck. There's no cell phone. There's no one to come grab us. I mean, we got to push the stuff or hide the bike and hop on your buddy's bike and come back and get it, something like that. So you can see my setup. You see what I ride for the GPS. I use an app called AGPS or something. I can't really remember what it is, but if you're interested in that, it's free and it allows you to record tracks, and I don't really get into the GPS that much, but I do want to record my tracks. I want to know how to get back to the truck, how to get back to where we're staying or whatever it is. I want to take some pictures along the way, and I want to know where I took the pictures. And this application allows me to do that. And it's free. I don't want to pay a year subscription for something I use a week out of the year. Let me know if you have any questions about anything I've got on the CRF. Or if you have questions about the 500 EXC or the 400, the DRZ 400. I'll have my buddies on. We can talk and argue about which bike is better for which situation. And I think it really depends on the kind of person you are, the type of rider you are. You've heard this all over YouTube. You're going to have to be honest with yourself. You're not racing motocross. You're not racing these races uphill in Romania. You're not doing any of this stuff. You need to consider how much money they are, what type of riding you're going to do, and what you're going to be happy with. There's nothing worse than getting this much money into a bike and you're like, why did I even start? I should have just bought the 400, or I should have just bought the TW200. It would have been fantastic. It goes everywhere I want to go. It's not going to launch me off the bike. Looks like a fun little bike. But anyway, that's it for the video. Let me know what you want me to talk about next, and I'll be glad to do that. Thanks. Have a great day.